Alright, so I have a few more thoughts on racism in the United States. One of the things that's very, very bothersome is that anytime you try to talk about black racism, so what I'm talking about here specifically is somebody who identifies as black, and I'm going to use that terminology even though I fucking hate it, because race is rather pointless to you as a person. And I just cannot get over this. I cannot get over the fact that some people think that their genetics or their biology or their skin tone or something like that is somehow important to who they are as a human being. No, it's just what you look like. Jesus Christ. Anyway, okay, so that's frustrating for me. But anytime you talk about black racists, so racist being black people being racist towards white people, they're also, from my understanding, at least in the past, they used to be really racist against, like, Hispanics. And I want to say probably Asians now, because you know, if you look at like how much Asians are making, they're making more than white people because they fucking come here and work their ass off. Like, of course they make more money than us. We're sitting here, we're privileged, we're fucking lazy. These little Chinese people come over there where they're like, we're gonna sell white people our shitty food and they're gonna eat it and we're gonna make money. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We'll do that. Okay, well, we got a symbiotic relationship. It's not, we're going to come over here, sit on welfare, whine and complain, and tell you that you're oppressing us even though we're immigrants to your country. And we left our country because it was tyrannical. I'm getting off subject. Anyway, so whenever you talk about black racists, inevitably there's somebody who's going to come out of the woodwork and go, well, what about the white racists? Yeah, okay, great. We know they're out there. You've been shouting about the white racists for literally 2 years. I do not want to hear about the white racists anymore. One of them killed a woman in fucking Charlottesville, and I understand that's bad. We all condemn it. We all think it's bad. There's not a single fucking person out there who think that the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis out there are good people. There's not a single fucking one of us, except for the maybe the white identitarians, but even them, they're probably like, okay, well, we're not into the violence. These guys are kind of retards. And I don't agree with white identitarianism either. I think the whole identitarian movement of, oh, I identify as gay, I identify as straight, I identify as transgendered, I identify as gray gendered, I identify as non-binary, I identify as black, I identify as white, I identify as my eye color, I identify as an attack helicopter. The whole identity movement is like, dear God, no. These are all people searching for themselves and they can't find them. Because they're looking in the wrong spot. They're looking for superficial sort of features of themselves. And I'm not saying it's not beneficial to be attractive or to have clear skin. I'm not even saying white skin. I'm saying clear skin. I've got nice clear skin. And that's beneficial. If you got acne all over your face, like, that, it just puts you just like slightly down. You can be just as attractive to me, but if you got pimples all over your face, you go from like, I don't want to overemphasize myself, so I'm going to call myself a 7. I'm heavy. I'm kind of obnoxious. We'll call myself a 7 just to be modest. I don't know where I'm actually at on that scale. I've been told a variety of things. I've been told I'm a 5. I've been told I'm a 10. So we'll call it a 7. If you've got acne and you look like me, you're probably, what, a 7.5, or no, a 6.75 or something. You know, you're slightly lower. So it's not that there's not, like, advantages to looking certain ways, but in our country, really, skin tone, that's what you're gonna go with? Like, okay. Good luck with that. So anyway, you have these black racists, and they're allowed to do things like say that people white people are inhuman. They're allowed to say that white people are demons. They're allowed to say that white people are raised to be demons, and that's all they know, and that's all they're good for, and all white people are racist. You know, you take a little tiny itty bitty tiny baby who's innocent and pure, that baby's racist. Gotta tell you. And they're allowed to say this, and nobody's allowed to talk about it, because every time you talk about black racism, somebody has to bring up white racism. And I don't understand this. It's like, okay, we got it. We got that there's a problem. And we all disown it. But guess what? Black racism is a problem too. And we need to talk about that at some point. But every time we talk about black racism, you want to bring up white racism. Even if you troll yourself as a black girl with black racist family, you know, people will still be like, yeah, but they're not as bad as the white racist. Like, who fucking cares? What was the point to this? What did you bring this up? Where the fuck did my phone go? I don't know where it went. I might have threw it on the bed. Over there? Yeah, fuck it. Anyway, somebody literally said that to me on Whisper, and I was like, well, what's the point of this? Why did you bring this up? And then they were like, well, why did you post about your family's racism? Because it's Whisper. It's an anonymous site, and that was my original post. What the fuck are you even talking? Why did I post that? Well, personally, me, Courtney, me, Rivers, I posted it because I wanted to start and engage in a conversation with somebody. And I ended up engaging in a conversation with retards, so it was rather unproductive. So probably not going to do that again. Unless I'm bored. But from my perspective, my character that I was playing there, she's doing it because, you know, it affects her personally, it's her family, it's her thing. It's why would she not post on an anonymous site when racial contentions are so high right now? And you're not allowed to talk about black racism without being called a white supremacist. But the problem is here's the biggest problem with this. The biggest problem by far has got to be the fact that every time you say we can't talk about black racism, you create a new white racist. Why is this happening? It's because perception matters. Perception matters so much, and if you keep calling white people racist and Nazis, they're eventually going to go, you know what, if I'm a racist and a Nazi anyway, why don't I go check out what they fucking have to offer? So every time you say to me, you can't talk about black racism or something like that, what you're saying to me is, I want to create more white racists. Because that's what it is. It's a vicious cycle. Black racists create white racists, which create black racists, which create white racists, which create black racists, which create white racists. And there's probably other racists out there mixed in with there. It's even getting to the point where they've started calling, you know, like, people who are not white supremacists. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No. Actually, it's been going on for quite a while. It's like you can't talk about the hatred and the vitriol coming out of this specific group because they've decided that they're victims. They've decided they're oppressed. They have decided that they're protected. And so every time you go, okay, what about this group of people who are being hateful? They go, oh, why would you talk about them? It's like the media's fucking response to Antifa, too. And this is another thing that's going to increase white racism in the country. They're the anti-fascists. They showed up first to free speech rallies. Yeah, you're the anti-fascist when you show up to free speech rallies and start causing violence. Oh, good job. You're the anti-fascist when you sit there outside of Milo Yiannopoulos' speech and you set things on fire and prevent him from actually speaking. That's what they want. They want control. They actually want fascism. Anyway, and these white identitarians and the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists, they don't like this group of people telling them what to do. And the fact that they have somebody to fight against, that just gives fire to them. Do you understand that? It gives fire to fuel to their fire. It makes them want to come back harder. If they know, if there's a possibility that Antifa will show up, oh, they're going to come geared up in their helmets and with shields and body pads and sticks and guns and hatred begets hatred. Love begets love. Like this is not too hard to understand. But to say that we can't talk about one type of hatred because another type of hatred out there exists is fucking stupid. No, we need to talk about both. But the problem is, we've been having this conversation about white racism, I don't know, all my life. Since before that. It was really bad after Obama got elected, and it's really, really bad now. You didn't get any sort of unifying message from Barack Obama when he was president. From what I saw was he screwed us over. He let black people just do whatever they wanted and let them be as racist as they wanted. And it's gotten to the point where they've begun pissing off the retards in the white race. They've begun pissing off these retards, and now the retards are thinking, you know what, maybe Hitler was right. Maybe the Jews are evil. I don't even know how the Jews play into this drama, considering the fact that the Jewish population in the United States is rather small. Maybe they're connecting them to the media outlets and whatnot. Oh, they control the media outlets. No. It's probably China who controls the media outlets. Someone in China owns the New York Times. So I'm more of I think it's probably Chinese propaganda you might be getting. Hey, here's another theory. China trying to destroy the United States from the inside out. Maybe they're not Russians, Reds under the bed. Maybe they're not the Russian type of commies. Maybe they're the Maoist type of commies. Let's just destroy Western civilization. Western civilization, by the way, needs to survive because this is the only beacon of hope in our world. The vast majority of our world remains in poverty, and there's nothing you can do about that here. You can't give away your wealth to other people and make them wealthy. That'll only make them poorer. But they have to figure out for themselves how to create a sustainable society. And just because someone's impoverished doesn't mean that they're unhappy. It doesn't mean that you need to come in, destabilize their country, and try to fix their situation by nation building, which is really just, let's just throw money at the problem and then leave and see what they do with it, and then everything falls apart again. But you have to be allowed to talk about these issues. You have to be able to talk about the hate and the vitriol and the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter and the Eric Clapton hitting a guy in the head with a bike lock. You have to be able to talk about this stuff. YouTube wants to censor people who want to talk about these issues. Twitter banned Sargon of Akkad because he was harassing alt-righters. What these people in the media actually want, they don't want to censor the far left or the far right. They want to censor the middle because they want there to just be the far left and the far right. It's really, really good for them. It's really good for their ratings. Every time somebody dies, it's really good for their ratings. And so when you come out and you go, okay, well, let's talk about how to end black and white racism, not just white racism, but black racism as well, they go, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, you're a horrible person. And it's because they want the violence, they want the pain, they want the suffering, they want the views. My God, what about us? What about you? Go take your millions of dollars and go start a fucking business or something, you dumbass. Get off the fucking TV. Van Jones, fucking idiot, sits there fucking crying like a fucking pussy over Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't done shit. And that's the biggest frustration here, too. You want to talk about Donald Trump to, like, anyone? They're so fed by propaganda that even if you find someone who's, like, with it, they're not with it on Donald Trump. You know, like, I was talking to this one guy, and he's kind of a more free spirit sort of guy, and I was talking about, like, my spiritual views and stuff, and I got the impression he was pretty with it on that point. Then things kind of turned to politics, and he said something along the lines of, we all elected Donald Trump. Like, he's putting the blame on everybody collectively for Donald Trump happening, essentially. And I go, well, I like Donald Trump. I voted for him. And his response was to go to all the propaganda and the media and the lie. And I was just like, I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to try to explain the fact that the mainstream media is so corrupt. I'm like, dude, 80-90% of the coverage on him is negative. And what has he done? He said the word pussy. Like, that's all they could drag up on him. All these women who say he womanized them and sexually assaulted them, they vanished. They vanished. All of them, like, no one talks about it anymore. But there was a massive smear campaign. And you can't talk about that either. Otherwise, you're a white supremacist and you support evil orange Hitler, you know, Cheeto guy. Okay, but that doesn't fix the situation we're in. Just because you have to be able to talk about the facts. You have to be able to talk about rationality and logic and reason. And these people have none of it. They just want to lie to you. They want to create propaganda. They want to destroy Trump's presidency. And every time they start acting hysterically about something that Trump says, they're driving more people away from them. But they also drive a portion of the population towards more hatred and more violence and more radicalization. Our mainstream media right now, with probably, I don't know, Fox is a little bit more pro-Trump, and I think that was a shift. I do believe that was a serious shift, though, after he became president, because they saw that there was an open market for it, probably, and so they started being a lot nicer to Trump. Other than that, you're going to get pure propaganda. You're going to get propaganda from Fox News. But anywhere else, you're going to get pure propaganda as well. Now, so, this guy that I was talking to mentioned, you know, you mentioned these stuff, and, I don't know. You can't talk about it with these people. You can't talk about the violence and the vitriol and the hatred and the pain and the suffering that they cause. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So this guy that I was talking to, the free spirit sort of kind of with it guy, he was just like, oh, well, I bet you watch Fox News. You know, I laugh because I do watch Fox News, but I sit there, and I watch Fox News, like, on my weekends, and I go, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. You guys are fucking idiots. But Fox News is literally the only station that I can handle, except for like Fox Business, but I tend to go for them more for like, what's the stock market doing today? Oh, are you guys going to actually report on the facts of this going on? Yeah, they're a little bit more factually oriented because they're in the stock market. So they tend to not piss me off as much. So I'll watch them in the mornings before work or something sometimes. The Fox News, I'd like to sit there and I go, just nope, 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 nope. You guys are morons. And that's that assumption though, like, that just cuts off dialogue so much when you assume things of other people. It's like, where am I coming from? Why do I like Trump? It's not because I've been fed propaganda by Fox News. It's because I've watched Trump. I watched a lot of his rallies, and the reason why was because there was so much lying and hatred from the mainstream media that it's hard not to get caught up in it. So I would watch, you know, the rallies of him, and he was not spewing vitriol. He was not spewing hate. He was not spewing anti-black bigotry. He was not spewing racism towards any minorities. And then you have the media come out, especially after his address that he gave the nation on the eclipse, which was absolutely amazing. You can disagree with going into Afghanistan if you want, and that's a completely legitimate thing to argue about. But can you argue that he delivered a unifying message? Well, the mainstream media is still claiming that he's spewing hatred and bigotry. But the vast majority of people kind of like him now. There's a significant turn that happened on that eclipse. There's a significant turn that happened with that speech. And you're going to see it more and more and more in this country, where the violence and the bigotry is going to be talked about. And people are going to start fighting back. You're going to have conservatives start to rise up. And more than we have. And I mean, in their daily lives, they're going to rise up. Not like, we're going to take to the streets, but more like... You hear somebody spew racism towards a white person and you go, dude, that's not cool. Like, dude, I'm white. Like, you hate me? Like, let's have a conversation about this. Why do you think it's okay to hate me? Why do you think it's okay to hate somebody based on the way they look and not the content of their character? There's plenty of people I hate. I hate Hitler. I hate Obama. I hate Hillary. I hate this little old lady who comes into my store and she likes to bitch at me. There's lots of people you can hate, but you hate them on their content of character, not the color of their skin or their gender or whatever. This is what this is supposed to be, and this is what anti-racism looks like. Anti-racism looks like, I don't give a fuck about your race. I want to know you as a person. Don't call me racist because I want to know you as an individual. I don't care about your skin color. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care the color of your skin. I'm going to give you the biggest, best smile in my fucking life. The moment you come into my line, I go, hey, how are you? What's going on? Did you see the eclipse? You got any fun plans for the weekend? Hey, tell me about you. What do you got going on? 99% of the time, white, black, Asian, etc., 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 they go, oh, I'm doing good. How are you today? And they smile back. And some of the ladies will get chatting with you, like, especially if they're like some of the older sweet ladies, they'll come up, they'll start chatting with you. They'll start, yeah, I don't know. They need the attention. They need the social interaction and stuff. And so you sit there and you chat with them, and it's kind of fun. But race just doesn't matter, and we need to be able to talk about the hatred and the vitriol because we need to be able to end it, and we need to be able to call it out when it happens, and I think you're going to see a lot more people calling it out, being like, that's just not cool anymore, dude. Like, it's just not cool anymore. It's not cool to be racist. You know, and that, I think this is another big problem. It's been made cool to be racist against white people. And we make up over 50% of the population in the United States. There is no group in the United States bigger than white people. You're going to have pushback. And it's going to come in unexpected ways for you people, and it's going to come in societal pressure at some point. It's going to be in the office, somebody makes a joke about white people being evil, or the demons or something like that. Somebody's going to walk up, white, black, Asian, and just be like, dude, that's so uncool, like, what the fuck? And just walk off. Be like, and just call them out on it. And at a certain point, everybody else is going to start feeling really uncomfortable because of those racist sort of against white people jokes. And they're going to start going like, why is this motherfucker telling this? And eventually they're going to start getting reported to HR. Maybe not that far, but because the hatred's deep, and the societal white people are evil thing is pretty ingrained. But I'm hopeful that at some point societal pressure is going to go, this isn't cool anymore. Don't do this. No, just shut up. And they're going to alienate themselves. They're going to find themselves in positions where they can't make friends because they're so hateful. And they're going to turn everything and twist everything, and they're going to still act like victims for a while until they can't get any ground with it. They can sit there, they can complain and whine, but if they lose their job because they're being a racist bigot, they're going to get the other end of the stick. They've been hitting with one end of the stick. Eventually, that other end of the stick's going to come back and whack them in the face. Alright, I'm going to leave you with that. So, just to recap, bigotry begets bigotry. Racism begets racism. You cannot have just one side. You have to have two sides that feed off of each other, right? You saw this in Nazi Germany. You actually had the communists rise up first, and then the National Socialists rose up. And what's the difference between the communists and the National Socialists other than socialism versus communism? Well, communism is more of a global sort of, we want to take over the world and have one, giant communist regime, really. And then the Nazis were like, nah, we don't want to be global. But they're both still hateful, and they opposed each other. They fed off each other. They were allowed to grow, and the Nazis just happened to take power. It would have been even as equally bad if the commies had taken power, although the Jews may not have been targeted as a scapegoat. Who knows? And, yeah. So, stop with the hatred. Stop with the violence. Stop with all of it. It's pointless. It's stupid. And you're just going to beget more of it from the other side.